Hey guys, I'm going to help you out with Lesson 6 homework. Let's go ahead and start off by reading number 1. It says, shape the area models to represent the number, drawing horizontal lines to make hundreds as needed. Locate the corresponding point on the number line, label with a point, and record mixed numbers as decimal. So let's start off with 2 and 35 hundredths. Obviously the whole number is going to be 2, and write 35 hundredths as a decimal and 0.35. If I'm going to shade it in, I need to shade in 2 whole blocks, so that's 1 hole. And that's 2 holes. And then if I need to do 35 hundredths, well, the same thing as 3 tenths. So I'm going to shade in 3 tenths. And then I need to do 5 hundredths, and I could split the whole thing, or I could just split the next tenth into hundredths. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to shade in 5 of them for the 5 hundredths to get 35 hundredths, or 3 tenths and 5 hundredths. Okay, on the number line, I'm going to go to where 2 is, because that's where the 2 holes are. And then I'm going to separate into tenths, so I'm going to go 3 tenths over. And then for the 5 hundredths, it's a tenth split into 10. So I'm going to go about halfway between the 3 tenths and the 4 tenths, which is exactly how it looks on the area model. Alright, 3 and 17 hundredths would be 3.17. I'm going to color in 3 holes here. 1, 2, 3, and then I'm gonna 17 hundredths is the same as 1 tenth and 7 hundredths, so I'm going to color in 1 tenth, and then I'm going to split this next tenth into hundredths. So kind of like when we split the whole thing, but I'm just splitting this one. And I'm only going to color in 7 of those because it's 1 tenth and 7 hundredths. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, on the number line, it has it between 3 and 4. Well, it's 1 tenth over, and then 7 hundredths. So it's not quite to the second tenth, but so it'd be about right here. Alright, number 2 says estimate to locate points on the number line. So the first one we have is 5 and 90 hundredths. Well, 90 hundredths is the same thing as 9 tenths. So really I could just count over the 9 tenths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And so 5 and 9 tenths, or 90 hundredths, would be about right there. And then the next one is 3 and 25 hundredths, which is the same thing as 2 tenths and 5 hundredths. So I can count over the 2 tenths. So 1, 2. And 5 hundredths would be halfway between the 2 tenths and the 3 tenths. It'd be about right there. Okay, let's move on to the next section. It says write the equivalent fraction and decimal for each of the following numbers. So let's start off with 3a. It says 2 ones and 2 hundredths. So that would be 2.02. It wouldn't be 2.2 because 2.2 would be 2 ones and 2 tenths, but we want 2 hundredths. So we need to make sure we put the 2 in the hundredths place and put that 0 there. 2 ones and 16 hundredths would be 2.16, which would be 2 and 16 hundredths. 3 ones and 7 hundredths would be 3.07, which would be 3 and 7 hundredths. 1 and 18 hundredths would be 1.18. Oh, by the way, also, it's not 3.7 because that would be 3 and 7 tenths. 1.18. Now here we don't put the 0 in front of it because that 10 tenths and the 18 hundredths would be 1 tenth, so we don't put a 0 in front of those. Okay, 9 ones and 62 hundredths would be 9.62, or 9 and 62 hundredths. And 6 1 and 20 hundredths would be 6.20, so it'd be 6 and 20 hundredths, or that's the same exact thing as 6.2, which is 6 and 2 tenths, because there's none of those hundreds that you would have to fill in on an area chart. Okay, let's look at number 4. We're basically just matching the unit version to the decimal version to the fraction version. So 4 ones and 18 hundredths would be 4.18. 4 ones and 8 hundredths would be 4.08, not 4.8 because that would be 4 ones and 8 tenths. 4 ones and 8 tenths would actually be 4.8 or 4.80, same thing. 80 hundredths is the same thing as 8 tenths. And 4 tenths and 8 ones is just 48. All right, 4 and 1800ths on this side is going to be 4.18. 48 is the same thing as 48. 4 and 800ths would be 4.08. And 4 and 80 hundredths is the same thing as 4.80 or 4.8. All right, if you got questions, let me know.